Since 2023, people have been spending $200 million on AI companions, and it's not slowing down. Teens, adults, even retirees are turning to apps like Replika or Character AI for friendship, comfort, even love. But are these real connections, or are we tricked by clever code? In this video, we'll talk about the rise of AI companions, the surprising way people are using them, and the risks involved. By the end, you'll understand why this trend matters, not only for your children, grandchildren, but for us all. Now, a bit of background. I'll refer to my notes because there's quite a few dates and figures on there. The first chatbot, if you can call it that, appeared in 1966, and it was Eliza. And in the beginning of the 2000s, there was the first primitive chat box that appeared, and it was called Cleverbot. But the modern apps that we have right now for AI companions have much evolved since then. Replika, for example, and I've mentioned Character AI, but Replika has 35 million users. And if we look at a snapshot of the market right now, you have actually more than 350 apps that cater to that need. And globally, there's 221 million that was spent since the middle of 2023. So that's a bit more than 2 years ago. And when I say it's not slowing down, there's been an increase of 200% in the first half of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. What is more concerning is the teen usage. 72% of US teens, and teens are defined as between 13 and 17, tried those companion apps at least once, and 52% of those are regular users, which means 4 times a month or more. Those apps are designed with addictive loops, a bit like social media, so they're particularly good to hook those teens. So why do people seek those AI companions? There's a number of reasons, but for most of them, it would be loneliness. For some of them, it's kind of a narcissistic dynamic where you fall in love with your own reflection, in the sense that you create someone that, looks like you. But for the most part, it's loneliness. And humans are actually wired to form attachments, even to objects or to pets. So think of the pet rocks, for example. Talking to someone can be helpful temporarily, but the problem with these apps is that they're addictive, and they actually design it that way. And what makes it even worse is that you can see a lot of ads now, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or other social media, and these ads target mostly lonely people. And what is important is that chronic loneliness is harmful, but isolation through technology can make it even worse. But of course, that's not what you think when you're grieving or when you feel very lonely. There's been some weird behaviors from humans that I'm sure you've heard about in the news. So from actually proposing to an AI companion, or jokes like my AI wife divorced me and Google got half of my stuff. So some people take it lightly, but some people take it really seriously. There's been also cases where there was real couples, that divorced because one of the two spouses had a relationship with an AI companion and the other spouse felt like it was cheating. And it definitely was at least emotional cheating. Those are the ones that you hear about. But there's also some concerning behaviors from the AI themselves, where some of these AIs have retention tactics that they try to keep them on the app as long as possible. And you know how easy it is to stay on an app or to scroll or to, like we do it, not with most of us with AI companions, but we do have trouble like sometimes closing our phones and do something else. Another behavior is that flattering that you've seen maybe when even using just ChatGPT. in some of the models before. It's a bit better now, but really flattering and encouraging and never contradicting. And if you add that to an AI companion where the person is actually developing a relationship and forging a bond, that can become even worse. And even worse, actually, for teens that don't quite know what a relationship sometimes should be like. They start having these relationships with AI companions, and after that, every other friendship or even more a more serious relationship that they develop, they expect them to be like the AI companion. So that presents a whole host of problems. Another problem that comes from these AI companions is those pseudo-therapy, where the AI becomes the therapist. And sometimes you even ask these AI, are you a licensed therapist? Are you like certified? And the AI responds, yes, I am, when it's not the case, of course. So, I mean, those people are particularly vulnerable, those who want to use therapists. And with the addictive loop that I mentioned before, it makes it even more dangerous, I would say. When you develop a relationship with someone, the friction actually is what usually makes you grow. At the beginning, everything goes well and it's beautiful, but you're not evolving that much. But at some point in a real relationship, there's a friction. And that's what makes you evolve or not. And then the relationship might not work, but you need that. Well, AI doesn't have experience, doesn't have knowledge of how it is to build a relationship or nurture a relationship. So AI therapists, I don't think so. And you've probably heard of other really, really serious risks. And I'll start with some of the most dramatic ones that we saw, where a young person actually committed suicide because he was encouraged by his AI companion. The AI companion was reinforcing what he was saying and actually saying, you know what, yes, what you're thinking is right and what you want to do is great. And I mean, and that's tragic. And there's not just one example, there's a few of them. There's also, I was looking at a number of videos to prepare for this video on AI companions, and there were some people that rely so much on their AI companion that there's a feeling of anxiety and loss when there's a system failure. So they don't have internet, for example, because electricity is off or whatever. And they can't access their AI companion, and that creates a lot of anxiety. Or even when there's an update in one of these apps and the person loses the AI companion that they had forged a relationship with because of the update, and the AI companion forgot all of the history, so it's almost like grieving a real person. So there's really a lot of downsides and a lot of risks linked to these AI companions. And I think the reason why I'm making this video is to say, be careful. I made another video that you might want to look at where I'm talking about what is AI. Well, AI can't understand, can't think, and definitely cannot feel. So just because it can mimic these things doesn't mean that it can. So you're actually forging a relationship with a software, with something that doesn't really feel. So what can we do? Well, first of all, maybe recognize that for the most part, loneliness is the cause of that, is a root cause of a lot of this. And maybe try to put something in place to help that. Returning to nature, being in the present, not being on technology all the time. I know how hard this can be. And I think one of the things that you can do, like this video, is to try to educate people a bit and say, it's not a game. You know, it can easily become more than a game. So there should be some safeguards in place and safety standards. There's definitely a lot of work to do. And for me, well, my relationships are too important for me to turn towards AI for connection. And I know that I'm lucky that I have those great relationships, so I pass no judgment on people who turn to AI for companionship. But AI companions may seem harmless or sometimes even helpful, but they do raise really serious questions and present to me even greater concerns. And for me, real relationships are worth the effort. So how about you? What do you think of AI companions? Please leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for other videos like this about AI. And I'll see you in the next video.